nations around the Mediterranean endeavor to buy captive Jews in order to set them free. The pirates often demand that the Jews pay higher prices than what they usually charge slave buyers. While the community is committed to performing the mitzvah of redeeming captives, oftentimes the communal coffers cannot bear the burden. There are also rumors that the pirates are targeting specifically Jews. Okay? So that's the first dilemma that we have. So I want this table here, and let's say the back table, Mervis / Bernie, bless all you guys. That's plenty of you guys on that one. And we'll do you guys over here, Marilyn. Second case. This is during the lifetime of King David. This is actually a story that's related to Shavuos that we talked about. Amnon, you guys can do it at your own tables. It's okay, we'll just have 3 groups and you guys can do it. Amnon, David's son, developed intense feelings of lust for his half-sister Tamar. He pretended to be sick and he asked Tamar to prepare and serve him food, but when they were alone, he raped her. Avshalom, Tamar's brother, had Amnon murdered in revenge. So think of this as a huge sensationalist story written up in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, it's on CNN. Here is in the royal family, you have this awful case of the absolute ultimate abuse of power, and this is a situation that rocks the whole nation. Everybody is, this is the talk of the town. This is like Bill Clinton 1,000 times over, right? This is like impeachment time, and this is, what are we going to do? And this is a black stain on the entire Jewish people. So maybe we can do something about it. Maybe we can't. Number 3, case 3. And excuse me, I didn't assign anybody that. So you'll take that over here, this table, and the back table, and you guys over here. Okay. Case number 3. Jewish holidays are exciting and meaningful. However, it seems that many members of the community are so busy with their daily struggles that they're underprepared for the holidays. In addition, many people find it hard to remember all the holiday laws from year to year, such as the laws pertaining to building a sukkah or baking matzah. Okay? Now again, today we have all kinds of reminders. We have celebration magazines and other things like that, right? But, so, is there anything that can be done to assure that the community maintains the holidays, maintains them in an appropriate way? What can possibly be done to see to it that that can happen? So the 3rd row over here, Dr. Golden and Larry, Michael, and okay, you'll do those. Does everybody know their assignments? I want you guys to spend a few minutes together talking about what can be done to take care of this problem, some ideas to take care of the problem, and the pros and cons of doing it. Let's see how well we can do this.
So we can do it again.
Guys, for a minute. All right. I want to first hear the brainstorming part of this. Has anyone generated any ideas to deal with these 3 problems? Problem number 1 being they're capturing Jews and asking for higher ransom. Problem number 2 is we come to a situation, how do we stop this kind of behavior where somebody can actually go, even somebody or maybe specifically somebody in power, going ahead and violating a woman, in this case, a half-sister. And finally, how do we deal with the fact that people are forgetting? It's, all of a sudden Yom Tov comes on them, they've forgotten all about it, etc. Has anyone done we have generated some ideas as to how to deal with these problems? Group number 1. Have you guys generated some ideas how to deal with this problem? Okay, just 1 second. Group number 2, 1 second. Who else is in group number 1? Have you guys generated some ideas how to deal with this problem? No. Not yet?
Sort of.
Not that great.
Sort of? Not that great? Okay, we'll give you a couple more minutes. And you? You have? All right, group number 2. Anybody generate any ideas how to deal with this problem? Just yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Good. And who else is in group number 2? You guys, any ideas how to deal with these kinds of problems? Group number 3. How do we remember the holidays? Anyone generate ideas? Yes, you have? You guys generate, Dr. Golden, your table. Anybody generate ideas how to deal with it? Okay, I'm going to give you guys another 3 minutes to go arguments against and arguments for this enactment. All right, 3 more minutes. Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention? So we need to see if we can summarize this relatively quickly because we can go all night just with this exercise. So I want to ask those of you from dilemma number 1, okay? We have a problem that Jews are being, so there's pirates on the high seas, and Jews are being particularly targeted. Has any of the groups, have any of you generated ideas as to how to combat this issue? We'll start here and we'll make our way through, but briefly, very briefly.
I don't agree with the philosophy that Jews are a bunch of schleps, and they have to make the decision of this is an impossible decision. It's not brought forward at all about what we would do to react to this physically.
Okay, so you feel the whole exercise is out of line. So setting that aside for a moment, because that's what we Jews do, we debate. So go ahead, and we'll talk later about all those other things. The question is there anything that we can do in terms of legally or with law in order to combat it? Go ahead.
Well, whether it's law, we were saying that if you perpetuate it, they are specifically targeting Jews, elevating the
So
price.
what should we do?
The prices that you can't continually pay them because the idea is you want them to stop.
So what would the enactment
The
be?
enactment would be is you don't allow payment for.
So you don't, at a certain point, you don't allow payment for Jewish captives. Let them sit there in captivity and let them rot there, so to say. Excuse me, but okay. Anybody else on that topic? You guys, who's number 1? You guys, go ahead, Bernie.
We had the same idea about price capping or whatever,
So price capping.
and then
We have a free agent market.
and then rounding up pirates.
And what?
Rounding up pirates.
So this is for him. Rounding up pirates. We should go on the offensive, and we should protect ourselves, and we should round up pirates and start kidnapping them or just chopping off their head. Okay, good. Huh? Cap. Okay. Who's the third group? You guys have?
So we have 3 ideas. One would be to create a special militia, people to guard.
Hey, everybody's with you.
Number 2 would be to enact tax to support that, because there has to, be money to support
Finally, a
something.
democratic table here. Yeah, good. I'm kidding. I didn't mean to get the limit. Go ahead.
Was to restrict travel to only that which is necessary to just safeguard lives.
Restrict travel. Okay, interesting. So you came up with 3 different ideas. Very good. All right, second group. So we have a problem now. There's this massive controversy that has roiled the whole Jewish world. This event happened, and we're scratching our heads. What can we do to prevent these terrible things from happening? Something so bad like this, like the story about Nun and Tamar. Go ahead.
Well, an unmarried man and woman should not be in the same room together. Unchaperoned.
Okay, so you have just enacted the laws of Yichud, which are that an unmarried man and woman should not be secluded alone, sort of behind closed doors, either unchaperoned or whatever. Very good. Anybody? Yes.
What about if the married woman that's happened to her?
What about the married woman? Okay, good.
It happened.
Would you guys disagree that a married woman should not either be with a guy who's not her husband? Okay, so you'd agree. They also are including married.
But according to the Torah,
A married woman and a man it doesn't apply.
Her own husband. What about some other guy?
Oh, with another guy.
With another guy, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We all agree that married men and women should be together.
Okay.
Good.
but according to the Torah, you're allowed to be alone with your sister. So being that it's his half sister, they would have been.
So you would put some fine print into that and saying it
Well,
should be.
what I'm saying is that they can enact a law saying that they can't be together because they're not married because she's his sister. So they're
So
allowed
you
to.
raise an
They're
objection.
allowed to be together. You're allowed
You hear
to be
Jeremiah's
with your
objection. He said, wait a second, it's his sister. For goodness sakes, you can't have a law that doesn't allow you to be alone with your sister. I mean, for goodness sakes, you're in the toy room together, and so how do we deal with that? Okay, good question. Let's hold it. We're just going to keep going with the enactments. Was there anybody else who had the second dilemma? Did you guys? No? Okay.
We had two other dilemmas here.
Two other dilemmas or two other?
Dilemmas in the case number 2.
Okay. Two problems with the legislation.
Okay, two problems. We were talking about the prohibition of intimacy between members of the family.
Okay, so that's
already been,
So you're saying there's already laws on the books about it?
Okay, and then we were talking about rape.
Rape is also, there's laws on the books about it.
Okay.
Well, is that that's in the oral Torah though, not?
That's in the written Torah.
What?
It's in the written Torah. It's in the written Torah. Okay. Let's go to the third case. Very good. So you guys have brought out some pros, some cons. Here's an idea to enact something. Here's an idea to say, well, wait a second, we have laws on the books already. Why are we making more laws? Good. Third group. We have a problem that people are forgetting about Yom Tov. People are forgetting about Jewish holidays. What do we do to take care of it? Group 3.
We have a number of issues.
Okay?
We have the idea there should be some kind of public announcement system where people are reminded,
Public announcements. Good.
which may or may not, depending on our dispute, something that comes through the synagogue, people should hear from the synagogue, the holiday is coming or whatever it is.
Raise membership dues. No, no.
Or maybe there should be some outreach program where somebody from the synagogue goes home. The ultimate question is whose responsibility is it?
It's Chabad's.
It happens.
Definitely. We all agree. Okay, good. Excellent. 1 second. So that's one. Did you guys have other ideas? What were some other ideas? So you had one, a public announcement, some way to remind people.
And making it the responsibility of the head of the household to make sure the whole household knows about it.
Good. Excellent. So the head of the household, part of your responsibility, you got to get, when you get your license to have children, at the same time you should get your license to be the educator in the house. Very good. Okay. Yes, you guys, right here. Larry, Michael. Go ahead, go ahead. Michael, all of a sudden is quiet.
We were going to sell, first we're going to agree on a calendar,
Okay.
and then we're going to sell ads on Google Calendar.
Good.
That was going to solve the problem.
Doesn't sound like you.
Oh, no, there was more. We had more.
Keep going.
We had communal celebrations, like a communal Seder and,
So the communal celebration alone would generate buzz, right? There's going to be fundraising attached to it. There's going to be announcements. Even if you don't want to make them, you're going to hear about it even if you don't want to.
Right.
Good.
Then you had the phone tree
The
circle.
phone tree. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. We have a phone tree.
We had a community sukkah that would,
You had a community sukkah?
why would it work? We'll make it work.
It wasn't going to be big enough. Okay. Excellent. All right.
so on some states, they don't allow you to sell cars on Sundays, for example. I can't, the government just say on Yom Tov business, businesses can't be open. They
Well,
don't mind.
the issue was not about, the issue was about the particular laws of each holiday, the sukkah, the lulav and esrog. So it wasn't about, in other words, in Israel, particularly back when, everything shut down on Yom Tov, but the question was, what about the particular practices, observances of each of the holidays? I'm not going to take any more questions on this topic because it was this was an exercise of talking about where legislation might be considered. Let's explain a little bit about what we just did and what we just saw. In a very, very compressed time frame. I mean, there would be ways to do this over long periods of time with many more details. Okay. So there are two basic areas where takanot, where these enactments would be made. One is called tikkun ha'olam. Okay, we know as tikkun olam. Tikkun ha'olam. These are societal remedies. There's a societal problem that needs to be addressed, and so there were legislated societal remedies to deal with these problems. In addition, there are things that they call tikkun hadat. These are religious remedies. There's a problem that is facing on a sort of in a religious or ritual kind of way, and so they address these with legislation related particularly to religious things. What's the first one? The first case that we had, so they're pirates on the high seas, they're taking everybody captive, but somehow they target the Jews, and knowing how vital it is for Jews to redeem captives and how important it is and what kind of great value it is, So it's great. You got a Jew. Now you're really in business. Now it's like a twofer. You know, you can raise the price. So what is the Talmudic? So the Talmud describes that there was an enactment as follows on page 78. In Paidinas Ashlim, for the purposes of Tikkun Olam, we do not redeem captives for more than their worth. Now, what is their worth? Their worth means in those days, you got to remember, in those days we're talking about a place that had an active slave trade. And so the slave trade had a price that was placed on people. You know, if you were this old and you were hardy and strong and you could, be, this kind of slave or that kind of slave, there was a price. There was a set price in the marketplace, give or take, depending on a number of different factors, but there was a set slave market. And so as long as you were within sort of what was normally paid for a captive, fine, there's no question that there's a Jewish value to go and redeem captives.
Even though it encourages more captives?
So what
It's like
they were
negotiating with terrorists.
correct. So in this case, what they were concerned about particularly was the particular. They were not about to stop the whole slave trade. What they were concerned about was the targeting of Jews in particular, and for that they said, no, we're going to pay the same for Jews. Don't target Jews specifically. We're not going to stop all pirates, but at the very least, we're going to make sure that there's no value, no additional value in targeting Jews. By the way, I want to tell you that I don't know the date offhand. In mid-July, together with the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, we're doing a 3-hour seminar on halacha and the war on terror, and there'll be credits for attorneys, 3 credits, a 2-part series. The first part of this series focuses on this question in today's day and age, the Gilad Shalit story and other stories going on in Israel. What is appropriate in terms of negotiating with terrorists for the redemption of captives? We have ISIS, we have all of these things which are really, really serious issues. We do a lot of compare and contrast with American law, with Jewish law on this topic, and it should be fascinating. We'll do it probably downtown somewhere. You'll look in your mailboxes. By the way, the second part of that seminar will be about torture for extracting information, whatever. And it's actually fascinating because right now we're finding out that what we thought, was what found bin Laden may not be the case, and so it all plays into this story that's continuing to evolve. That's just a little shameless plug for the next day-long seminar. Yes, Kalina.
Yeah, I have a question. What Jewish law or what law Israeli follow when one soldier, and I'm for it, they free 500 Palestinians?
500 wouldn't be bad. All right, so for that question, you'll have to come to the seminar on July. It's a Sunday in July, I think the 12th. I don't remember the date, and we'll discuss it at length over there. Okay, but the point is that this Tikkun HaOlam legislation was that Jews were being targeted in particular, and so they enacted with whatever power was vested in that time to ban the community or individuals from overpaying for Jews. Because even if a family went and did it on the side, they were a very wealthy family, well, that's very nice, but they don't know that, and they think, and by the way, you have this till today, oh, you're Jewish, you probably have money, you probably will be able to, to somehow find a way out. So this was a legislation, and there's much to talk about the development of that law, etc., and we'll save that for a different day. So you guys came up with a similar idea, but it's for the purposes of Tikkun HaOlam. The second story or the second element of takanot, of these legislative ideas, were Tikkun Hadat. And this is what we know usually of building a fence around the Torah, right? So the Talmud says, the Rambam quotes on page 78, text 6, when Amnon raped Tamar, King David and his court prohibited the seclusion of a man with an unmarried woman. So now, let me just give you a drop of background. So up until that time, it's already a biblical prohibition, received, derived, whatever, but it's a biblical prohibition already for a married woman to be alone with a man other than her husband or other than a close relative. Okay? So now what the Besdin did, they viewed what had taken place, they viewed it as an unbelievable breach of etiquette in general and Jewish etiquette in particular. And they saw, by the way, despite the fact that when you think about it in those days, in the time of David for sure, in the world at large, this was not an uncommon occurrence. This was extraordinarily common. In royal households, to have this kind of thing, completely commonplace. But in this was, for the Jewish world, this was an unbelievable breach of every kind, and it was something that ended up becoming a whole huge political thing, and it was well known to everybody. And so David himself, together with this court, they felt that they need to safeguard. So you're right, the group in the back here says, wait a second, there's laws already on the books. There's laws against rape, there's laws against incest, there's laws about all of these things. So what's the point of adding new law? So what they suggested was that no, these things are not enough. We need to create a fence around the Torah and make sure that people never come to the situation where they're going to be tempted in any way to do something that is inappropriate or illicit. And so the idea, it is attributed to David and his court, to this story, that the laws of Yichud, which exist till today, this is when they were put into place by this story. The laws of Yichud are these laws of seclusion, of having a man and a woman secluded by themselves. It actually means behind a locked door, primarily a closed door or a locked door, that nobody can come in or out or these kinds of things, because by definition, they defined it, the way they described it, by definition, when a man and a woman, unrelated, are sitting in a room together behind a locked door, it is an event. There is a certain element of closeness that occurs just by that happening.